Good day, everyone. So this is our CAD drafting, and we will be discussing, or I'll be providing you a video tutorial for the activity number one, which is basic concepts, right? So from our face-to-face meeting, we have already created an Autodesk account so that you could have an access for a one-year educational license of AutoCAD, right? So since we are in the asynchronous session, right, you need to go through all of these modules. So each of them have their uh, individual video tutorial, right? Like for example, exploring the user interface. I have some reading materials provided here and video discussion if you wanted to, right? So these are the AutoCAD basics until saving a file. So note that I didn't publish this module activity, but then we have our activity on the latter part. Okay, so basic coordinates of AutoCAD, and then some draw commands and modify tools, modify commands, and some basic view commands and selection of methods, right? And also some drawing accuracy, which is the what we call OSNAP or object snap, right? So therefore, our first activity will be the basic concept, okay? Hopefully, this method uh, will give you an idea on how you approach your drawing, okay, using AutoCAD. So our activity is this one. So you have the general instructions as draw the following figures. So there are 9 figures and I will be creating all of them so that you could have a grasp on how to familiarize yourself with the basic tools provided using AutoCAD. So take the distance between consecutive parallel lines as 10 millimeters. So for example, on this given first figure, we have a square with which measures 100 on all sides. Okay, so take note of the symbol square and the value of 100. So this square gives us a 100 by 100 square, right? Same goes to these first 3 rows above. Okay, so all of them are 100 by 100, and the second row, which gives us a 90 by 90 square, and last row will give us a 100 by 100 square. Okay, take note that the distances between the side of this square and this line is 10 millimeters. But then we will not be discussing about units. Rather, we will be using them as a basic guide. So we will simply refer this one as 100 units. Okay? And of course, take note, each of those boxes have their corresponding distances or spaces. Like for example, this one, first box and second box has a space of 30. Okay, 30 units. Let's say 30 units. Same goes with the last one. Okay, but then on the second row, since this is a 90 by 90, horizontal distance or space will be 40. Same goes with the last box on the second row. Okay, spacing between each column, let's say for this box here, okay, and then for the box of with 90 by 90, there's a distance or vertical distance of 30 units, okay, and also on the last part 30 units. Okay, so let's start. Okay, and then by the way, you need to save the file in the format of your surname underscore and then given name and then the activity number. An example is provided. Okay, so this is my last name and then first name and then the activity number. We will be using this format across all our activity. Okay, and we need to submit 2 files, one DWG and one DXF file. Okay, And do not dimension your output as they are for reference only and should be only be followed for accuracy. Okay, so before we start, I'll just give you a reminder. Okay, you need to go through all of this module before you can proceed with your activity because it has its prerequisite. We have week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So all of these modules before the activity, you need to go through them. Okay, and hopefully that is clear. Now, let's start using AutoCAD. So basically, I'm using AutoCAD 2021, and you have the options of downloading and installing a version of AutoCAD from 2021 to 2024. So I have mentioned it you during our face-to-face meeting that you need to what you call this take view or read about the system requirements for each of those version. So just a reminder, I'm not suggesting installing the latest version, which is AutoCAD 2024. So it's your choice if you still wanted to what you call this install the latest version. But then my suggestion is simply a lower version. So I myself I'm using AutoCAD 2021. So let's start. Now, before we start, we simply need to set the units. But then for this activity, we haven't discussed or we don't have an open module for setting up of units. Rather, we will be simply using what is basically offered when you open your AutoCAD software. Right? So if you wanted to open, you simply select the applications menu, okay, the AutoCAD icon, okay, and then you can click new or simply the toolbars provided uh, right next to it, which is you can open a file, okay, a new file, open file, save, and so on. And hopefully you're familiar with this one because this is simply similar to what Microsoft offers, like Windows, Microsoft Word, I mean, or Excel, and so on, right? So let's start. So I'll be creating, okay, the first figure on our given here. So let's say this one. So for this particular figure, that is simply a square which measures 100 by 100, you can use line tool or simply a square or a rectangle tool, right? So I'll just use, let's say, I'll create the given figure with a rectangle, okay? And this is under the draw panel here, right next to the arc, which is rectangle. And right below that one, drop down menu, you have the polygon tool, right? So I'll just click rectangle here. Then specify first point. Always pay attention to the command line. Okay, and this was specifically mentioned in the module. So in the command line, you have your specify first corner. Okay, so basically we don't have a starting point on the given activity. You can always start anywhere in the drawing area. Okay, so I'll just click somewhere here, and then as I move my cursor, I notice that as the rectangle, okay, becomes larger, the values on the upper and the right side are getting bigger. Like for example, on this side, this is 702 and the height is 654. As I move away, they increment the value. So here on the input box, I can input the values of 100, and then changing the height, I'll just press the tab key on my keyboard, then 100. If the values are correct, 100 horizontal, and then vertical is 100. That gives me a 100 by 100 square. So I'll just press enter. Okay, so typically the image is small, you need to zoom in using your mouse wheel. Okay, by the way, I'm pressing the mouse wheel when I use the pan tool, or simply you can use this one on the navigation bar. Okay, so I clicked the pan tool, then using left click I can provide it. Okay, but then what you call this, if I'm done with the pan tool, I'll just press escape key in the keyboard to cancel that command. Or you can use the mouse wheel, press hold and then the mouse wheel. Okay, now you can also create using the line tool. I selected line, then specify first point, and then this gives me a rubber band like. Okay, so from the starting point, it stretches out as I move my cursor. I can put 100 on the inputting box, and notice that there's an angle 16 degrees. So if I'm creating a horizontal value, I'll just change that angle value to 0. So I'll just press tab and then 0 and then enter. Okay, or you can use the object snap, or I mean the orthographic mode or ortho mode, and that is simply by pressing F8 key. And also this is included in the module itself. So I'll just press F8 once. Notice that on the command line you have ortho on. This one forces you to draw horizontal or vertical lines only. Okay, so there are no diagonal lines provided here. So I can simply input 100 and then press enter. And then I'll just move to the left side and press or input 100 and press enter. Then I'll just go up and click it or snap it on the endpoint provided here. And then I'll just press, once I'm done, I'll just press the escape key to exit that command. Okay? So this is a rectangle tool, and notice that if you select that one, it all sides are being selected. Unlike, I'll just press escape key. Unlike this one, okay, these are individual line segments. Okay, you can select them individually. So it's your choice on how you're going to create your first box. Okay, it's either the rectangle or the line tool. So I'll just erase one of this one. Let's say I'll just erase the line tool here. Okay, so I'll just type in letter E and then enter, and then I'll just select this one and then press enter. So again, I created a square using the rectangle tool. If I select this one, all individual sides are, or all sides of the rectangle or the square are being selected. Okay. So again, I'll just erase, the select, and then enter. Okay. So I'll just repeat the command. So let me just create again. I did typing that one, Z, E, enter. Okay. So that gives me zoom to extend. Okay. To refresh my drawing area, or you can simply type in RE or regen, enter. This allows me to regenerate the model or the drawing area itself. Okay, so let me just create again rectangle, or simply I could type in the command REC. Okay, these are called keyboard shortcuts, and you can simply type in the first letter, first two letter, first three letter, second letter, and so on. Okay, so basically you need to search them on your own. So if you are going to type in line, I'll just type in L. That gives me the keyboard shortcut for line. Okay, same goes with circle. Okay, as you notice here, C is for circle, then CO, copy, and so on. Okay, so I'll just type in REC, enter. and then specify first point, again, anywhere in the drawing area. Then move your cursor away from that specified first point, and then type in 100, and then tab 100, right? So based on the given instruction, all consecutive parallel lines are 10 units. Let's consider them as units for now. So I created this one, and then you need to use uh, or simply, if I'm going to create or draw this line, okay, I'll just use the offset tool. Offset tool is simply this one, right? But before I offset that given, okay, so let's try offset. So offset is simply O, enter, and then you provide a distance. Since parallel lines are 10 units, I'll just type in 10 and then enter. Okay. Notice the difference between a rectangle and line. Okay, so this is a rectangle. So this is, if I go in to select this one, the whole sides of this square will be selected. So I'm going to click this one, move my cursor away, up or down. Okay, so all sides are 10 units. But then, how am I going to select individual lines if I use a rectangle tool? So I'll just cancel the offset tool and I'll use the explode tool. That is simply X for the explode tool, or you can use this one. Okay, now, so I'll just use X or type in X for the explode and then press enter, and then I'll just select this rectangle and then press enter. Now I can select individual line segments. Okay, then I'll proceed with offset, then 10 units, enter. Then let me just zoom in. Okay, then I'll just select this. I'll start from top. Okay, so these are all horizontal line segments. So I'll just select the top one. Then I'll just move inside that particular square. Then I'll just click here. And of course, offset tool doesn't end on its own. So I'll just continue with my procedure. And also, so I'll just fill this first rectangle here. Click, okay, left click. Then since I completed the first figure, okay, I would stop offsetting. Okay, so I'll just press the escape key to end the offset command. So I'm done with the first figure. Okay, and then I'll proceed with the next one, which has a distance of 30. Okay, so I'll just offset again so that the spacing would be provided is 30 units. Enter. Then I'll just select this vertical line here. Okay, again, you can move left or right. Okay, so I'll just moving to the right side. I'll just click here and I'll offset that one to 100 units. Then I just press the escape key to end the offset command, and then I'll just use line for this one. And also line. Notice that I'm using a combination of the ribbon together with the keyboard shortcut. Okay. Now, uh, basically, if you're going to view the given second figure, we have horizontal lines at the top and vertical at the bottom, and this is the middle part, or it is divided into two equal portions, up and down. Okay, so basically we have a line here which is this one, and then we need to specify or select the midpoint of this line. Okay, so there we will be using object snap tools. Okay, so or snap or OS and then press enter. So you have your endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant. These are the basic. Okay, you can simply select them all, or this is not suggested. Selecting them all is not suggested. You need to select only what you're going to use. Okay, so I'll just use this one. I'll just use endpoint, okay, midpoint, center if you have a circular or arc, okay, circle or arc. Quadrant is also for circle, okay, then perpendicular, then tangency, okay. So I'll just leave it as it is, okay. Basically, object snap on by means of pressing F3, okay, or turning that off is also F3. So I'll just click OK. If I'm going to press F3 on my keyboard, OSNAP is off. And if I press that one more time, F3, OSNAP is on. Okay? So if I'm going to create a line, okay, and then this one, I'll just create a select line tool, and then notice this one, there's a square, green square provided that one. So that means it will snap automatically on that particular endpoint, even though your crosshair is not is being close enough, okay, to that particular endpoint. So automatically it will snap to that endpoint. So let us assume I'll just click here. Automatically it will snap to that particular endpoint. Okay. Similarly, you have a triangle. That means that is the midpoint triangle symbol. Okay. So let me just erase this line. Okay. And then I'll just draw a line, L, and then enter. Then move your cursor to this line here or on the other side. Notice that there's a triangle symbol that represents midpoint. Okay. This one, corner, endpoint. So I'll need to be sure that it shows the midpoint symbol. So I'll just click here and then connect it to the midpoint of this other side. Then similarly, I'll just use line, then midpoint again, connected downward. And take note, in the instruction, we have 10 units. Okay, spacing between them is 10 units. So I'll just offset, and then 10, okay, and then enter. Then this one, going up, then this one to the right, and this one to the left. You move your mouse cursor, okay, to the direction where you wanted to offset that particular line. So I'll just click here. So second figure is done. Okay. And for the third figure, okay, so simply offset and then what you call this line, similar procedures on how I created this one. So I'll just use offset with a space of 30. Then I'll just select this line. I move to the right, then offset again by 100. Then I could use line and another line here. So I'll just start at the middle. Okay. So for this one, I'll be using line tool, midpoint, and another midpoint at the bottom, then left to right. Then I'll just offset this one. Then this is 10 units. So let us use this corner here, or the space provided on the upper right, okay, of this particular rectangle. So I just offset 10 and fill this one, and similarly upward. Then enter. This time around, okay, I'll be using a new command which is trim. Okay, or you can simply type in TR and then enter. Okay, so this one, there are other options here. You need to specify cutting edges, crossing mode, or so and so on. So this time around, I'll be using trim as it is. So I'll just select this one and all of this. And similarly, this one, that is from this space here. Alright, and I'll just continue the process. So first, let's say will be the first quadrant complete. Okay, so I'll just press escape. Then if you're going to repeat the process, you can do so. You can offset this line segment here 10 units to the left, and this one going up if you wanted to. But then to make your work easier, okay, I'll just use mirror. Okay, so that is MI, or simply you can use it here, mirror. Okay, so the draw panel and the modify panel are discussed in our module, so you need to practice them. Okay, so I'll just type in MI or mirror, then select the objects that I wanted to mirror. Okay, so on your command line, select objects. So I'll just select this one, or let me just press the escape key, yeah, and then type in again mirror. You can select them individually if you wanted to. Okay, then after selecting the objects that you wanted to mirror, okay, I'll just press enter and then specify first point of the mirror line. So technically, I'll just start the top and then going to the bottom. Then erase source object. Source object, those are the selected objects, okay, on your first step. So if you wanted to erase them, okay, if you selected yes, these selected line segments here will be erased. So in the given figure, they are not, they are included. So I'll just click no. Right? So there it goes. I have these two quadrants being complete. And again, I'll just repeat the process, mirror. Then I'll select this one and also these line segments here. And then I'll just press enter. And then my mirror line will be horizontal line. Then erase source object, I'll select no. So this one, I have completed the first three drawings at the top. Next will be the second row, which gives me, okay, an indentation here, okay, and that is being centered with 40, 40, and space is 30. Okay, so since this is 90, okay, but then this is 100, 100 minus 90, that gives us 10, and will give us an indentation of 5 units here, similar to this one. Okay, so let's try that one. So probably you have an idea on how you're going to create that one. So I think I will be using offset, okay, with a distance of 30. This one going down, enter, and then I'll select this line downward. Then I'll just press escape and draw another line, vertical. Any length will be, or I mean, it should be 90. Okay, so line downward. Okay, so I'll be pressing F8 now for ortho mode so that I could draw a horizontal or vertical line. So I'll press F8 once. Okay, and then I'll input a value of 90. Okay, and then this one is not aligned on this uh, line segment on the first figure. Okay, rather it is offsetted with 5 units. So I'll just offset 5. And then I'll just select here, move it to the right side. Then I'll just press the escape key, erase that line, this one, and then press enter. Then I'll just remove this excess line here using trim tool. Enter. Then you have here an indentation of 5 units. Then I'll just offset with 90, this one. And then I'll just use trim again. And then offset again by 90. Or simply you could draw a line here at the bottom. But then I offset it by 90. So this gives me a square with 90 by 90 units. Similar to this given here. I take note that these are three spacings. Okay, so therefore these are, since this is 10 units on each spacing. Okay, so 10, 20, and 30. Same goes with this one, 30. So therefore these are all divided into 30 units. Okay, so I'll just offset 30. This one. Same goes at the bottom. The bottom. Okay. And then I'll offset by 10. Horizontal, horizontal, but then this is vertical. Okay. So I'll offset this one by 10 and then 10 again. Then I'll just use trim. I need to trim this middle part here. So I'll just select this one and this one. Okay. And then I'll just offset by 10. This one. And also this one. Then trim again. But then I'll just trim this one. Okay. Then I'll just press escape. Then you could also use offset here if you wanted to, but then I'll just use copy tool. Okay. So I'll just copy these vertical line segments. Copy is CO. Then press enter. Then I'll just click here, here, these two line segments. Okay. And then I'll just press enter. After selecting the object, you need to specify your base point. Okay, so you need to copy them on this square, on this one. Okay, so that gives us my base point probably will be this corner here. Okay, I'll just click on this corner. Okay, on this corner where I could select endpoint. This is intersection, by the way. Okay, so I think on my object snap setting, I didn't include the intersection. So I'll just click here. Then I'll press F8 because I'm in ortho mode. I'll off the ortho mode. Right, so I'll just click on this corner. I'll be needing one more time the intersection. So I just press the escape key of snap, then intersection, then I'll just click OK. Then again, I'll just copy this one on this intersection here. Uh -huh. Mm -hmm. Mm -hmm. Right, just place it here, and also it should be included on this one. Okay, so I'll just copy again this one. On this corner, oh yeah, this one at the bottom. Okay, this corner here. Then similarly, I'll just copy this one and this one and this endpoint will do. And then again, copy that one. Oops, this one. And then this part here. Okay, so I'll just offset this one by 10 and then trim again. But then this one, I need to trim on this side and on the right side. Is where I'm going to use the cutting edges option. Okay, so I'll just click here at the command line, cutting edges. Select cutting edges. This might be your boundary. Okay, so I'll just limit here to this line and up to this line. Okay, and then press enter. Then I'll just select these two line segments for excess line segments here. Then press the escape key. Okay. Now this gives me the fourth figure here on the second row. Okay. Now this one, similar procedure. I think similar procedure is applied on both of these two given figure. Okay, so I'll just offset by 40. The distance between this one is 40, and then 90, and then align, then offset it by 90, then offset by 10, of course. So I'll just fast track this one, and similarly by this one. Okay, so all of these are what you call this, identical. So therefore, I'll just offset by 30. Then I will try this one as trim. Let's trim this one, that part, this part here, this, and this one. Same is applied the bottom. Okay, you can trim this one and also for this side here. Then let us erase or trim these existing lines at this part. So I'll just use trim, then cutting edges, select this line segment here and press enter. Then I'll just remove these line segments. Okay, leaving this 30 spacing, a 30 by 30 square. Then I'll just copy. I'll select these line segments and then press enter. My base point will be the upper corner, and that gives me the complete second figure. Okay? So basically these are just guide on how you're going to create the given figure. If you wanted to explore, you can use other commands if you wanted to. Okay? So continuing with the fifth figure, okay, so I'll just use offset and then by 40 on this one, and then offset again by 90, and then I'll just draw a line, and then I'll just offset by 90 downward. How am I going to create this one? Okay, so basically they are all identical. Okay, so I'll just use offset of 10, horizontal and vertical. Then I'll be using trim. Then this one. And then I'll use trim tool. Then I'll just follow the given here. Just use this one. Same is applied. Okay. So on that one, there's a small square on this side. Then I'll just proceed with this one. Then the next one. Then again, similar is applied to that one, right? Then corner here, and then another one here. Don't be confused with the given, okay? Huh? On this one, so I'll just proceed on this part, which is this one. Okay, and then I'll just follow this one here. And then this one. Don't 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 get confused, okay, with those pattern. Okay, so this is somewhat similar to this given figure here. So I have completed figure number 6. Okay, then again I'll be using this one. Okay, now how am I going to create the last one? Okay, so basically from this given I can offset the bottom line segment at a distance of, let's add them, 30, 90, and another 30. So that gives us 150 units. Okay, so I'll offset 150 units. So offset 150. Then I'll just select this line segment here, downward. Okay, if you wanted to measure, you can use this one, distance between this point here. That gives us 30. Okay, now I'll just use line segments downward. Okay, make sure you're using Ortho mode, F8, and then 100, and then again horizontal 100, and then going up, or simply connect that endpoint on your first line. So this gives me a 100 by 100 units square. Okay, now on this one, these are diagonal lines on your third row. Okay, now let us have a reference here. Okay, so I'll just create horizontal, vertical, and so on. So I'll just use line, midpoint, horizontal, and then again horizontal, or I mean vertical. Then I'll just use line again. Ortho mode is off, F8, ortho is off. Okay, so I'll just create a diagonal line here. Then I'll offset that one with 10 units, since parallel lines are 10 units apart. Similar is applied. And last. Okay, now I'll just use trim with cutting edges, selecting horizontal and vertical line, and then press enter. I'll be removing these line segments here, and similar on this one. I press enter, then trim again. I'll just use cutting edges, the sides of my square. Then press enter, then remove those excess lines or line segments. Then this time around I'll be using mirror, then select this one, enter, and vertical line, no. Similar is applied, mirror again, vertical line, then no. Then of course you need to erase those horizontal and vertical line. That is our 7th figure. Okay, and then 8 figure, same is applied, but then they are opposing. Okay, so reference here will be the middle portion. So the diagonals across the square. Okay, on the corner of your square. So I'll just offset 30 because this one, space here is similar on the top. That is 30. Okay, and then offset by 100. Then I'll just use line, horizontal line, and then line again. And I'll draw diagonal lines on this one. Then I'll just offset by, let's say, 10 units. Same here. Right now, this one, I'll first create this center arc here. I center crossed figure here, right? So I'll just offset again by 10, and then I'll just trim, right? And then continue offsetting by 10 units. Then I'll just trim. Nice. Then I'll just use mirror. Then I'll select these line segments. Okay, and then enter, starting at the middle, connect it to this one, to the corner if you wanted, or up to this uh, point here. Then I'll just click here and then click no. Okay, then similar is applied. I'll just use offset 10. Let's say this one. Then I'll just use trim with cutting edges using these line segments. Then I'll just remove this excess part here. Then I'll just offset 10. Oops, undo. Then again, mirror. I'll select these line segments. Enter. No. Then trim. I completed the center portion. Then I need to create these uh, line segments here. Alright, so I'll just offset by 10 in this line segment. Then I'll use trim with my cutting edges provided here so that there are no overlapping lines. Okay, and then make sure that you use cutting edges for this one, because if there are overlapping lines provided here, that is, you will have a deduction for that one. Right, so I'll just use trim. Then I'll offset again with 10 units using this one. Then I'll just use trim. Right, and then I'll just mirror that one. Enter. Then midpoint to midpoint. No. Then repeat the process here. Then again trim with cutting edges. enter, then trim again with cutting edges for this line segment as my cutting edges, enter, and then I'll just remove this one. Again, take note, we don't need an overlapping line provided here in this given figure. Okay, so trim, and then repeat the process of offset with 10 units. Then I'll just trim them. Then again, last step will be mirror. Midpoint, midpoint, no. This completes the 8th figure. And lastly, this is basically created using line tool on the inside. Okay, so let's say offset with 30. Then offset again by 100. 100. Then I'll just draw line segments. And then let's see the figure. Diagonal lines passing on this midpoint. Okay, I'll just use line. And then another line here. And then line given, provided midpoint, 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 and midpoint. Okay, and then if you wanted to create a rectangle using rectangle tool, you can use that one if you wanted to. And similarly, diagonal lines, and of course a rectangle provided inside. So again, that completes the 9th figure. So now I have completed the 9 figures for this particular given, and under the instruction, do not dimension your output, as they are only for reference and should be followed for accuracy. Now I'll be saving the file to this format. Okay, and then save the file in two files like DWG and the Excel file. So I'll just save as, and then you need to create a folder, okay, on your file. So let's say I'll just use drive E, and then CAD drafting. Okay, so I'll just use this one. I'll create a folder, activity 1, basic concepts folder. Then I'll just open this one and then change this one, right, to my surname, name, and activity number. Then that is the DWG file. Right, then I'll just save this one, and again save the file as a DXF file. DXF, you can use 2018, right, or lower version, which is 2013 if you wanted to. Right, so I'll just use 2018 version here. Let's save. Now let me just open that particular folder. Okay, this one, these two files now will be submitted in the submission link provided in our module. Okay, so this one. Okay, so if I'm going to click here, okay, and then this is not in the student view mode, but then you need to submit the files here. Take note that the submission allowed attempts is only limited to 1. Okay, deadline of submission, I'll just change this one to, let's say, given due date. Today is Thursday, I think. So let us have a 1 week submission for that one. Until August 9th. Okay, that's done. Okay, so hopefully you could submit them. Then I'll just save this one. Okay, then of course you need to upload these two files. Okay, and this completes the activity number 1.